Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here on the Blues Daily channel. Once again, it's another Blues preview. I'm here once again with Tom. Tom, how you doing?
I'm very good, thanks, mate. You?
I'm great because we've actually had a key marquee signing recently for Blues, and who would have thought there was rumours going around for years. Would it happen? Is he too old? Is it now not necessarily the time? But it's happened. Troy Deeney is a blue nose. I can't believe I'm still saying those words right now. It's just madness. When you look at Blues' transfer window, what we had anyway, we were pretty optimistic, to be fair, going into what we got in terms of signings and things like that. And then boom, Troy Deeney comes out of nowhere. And to be honest, it did. It really did come out of nowhere. It was almost like there was an article. Pete O'Rourke, our famous little journalist that we love, went out and said Troy Deeney is set to possibly sign for Birmingham. Well, it's set to leave Watford. And that was when the question marks happened. As soon as that was announced, it was almost like, okay. Blue Noses are thinking, we won't get too excited because we don't know what happened, because you can have other clubs come in. Do you know what I mean? It's traditional Blues. We all get excited. It's going to be this player, and then West Brom comes in, or a Premier League
Celtic
team,
or Rangers or something.
Anything, etc. Look at Kevin Nisbet, for example. We got really excited about Nisbet for the prospect of getting a proper striker in that replaced Shea Adams. Really, when you look at it, forgetting Troy Deeney, what's happened, we actually haven't. I was going to say, didn't we actually haven't replaced Shea Adams until now, hopefully. So he's 33 years of age.
Yeah.
Pretty much similar. I think Juki's 32, maybe 33 as well, off the top of my head.
I think he's 32, yeah.
Yeah, so similar ages. So it's not 27, it's not 28, so it's not necessarily he's got years ahead. However, he's a blue nose, he's from Birmingham, and he loves the club. If we have a look at all the different interviews he's done for the channel, for Border Sports, for Blues itself as well, it shows the passion. He was on Ben Foster's podcast the other day. He's just promoting Blues. He's only just left class, yeah. He said a little goodbye and then bang, he's straight into blue nose. And we love that. Tom, what were your initial thoughts in terms of the transfer? Because it's almost like a dream that's actually come true for Blues fans, you'd say.
Definitely, yeah. I think disbelief is probably the first thing that comes to mind. I was very shocked when I first saw it. I was like, wow, oh my God, this has actually happened. I mean, a lot of people can question his age, but me personally, from listening to what he's had to say, I believe him. He's a very persuasive man. I think a lot of the time he backs up a lot of what he says and has done throughout his career. So hopefully that, comes good again, because I mean, he's been talking about promotion, so God knows. But, if you don't aim high...
Slow down, Troy, slow down.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't aim high, then you won't achieve high, like you said. But no, it is very surreal. It's nice to finally have a proper blue nose actually playing for the club again. Like, obviously we had Bellingham, but even before Bellingham, there was no real proper sort of Birmingham City fans that we've had in the squad for a long time. So it's refreshing, and it's been a long time coming. But not only that, he's our sort of player. Like, he's sort of no shits given, just he'll bash into anybody. Proper hard worker, and he'll give everything for the shirt. I think we all know that. So we'll try not to put too much pressure on him, that's for sure. But he's definitely getting us all excited with all this, publicity work and stuff, for all the podcasts and the interviews. It just gets better and better.
So the only thing that I would say about Troy Deeney, I think he's had a season. I think he only played like two or three games last season for Watford, because it seems obviously Watford have got the thing where with Troy, it's standard. It's standard at any football club. Your best player gets older, you need to replace him. It will happen to Leicester and Vardy eventually. Vardy's getting older. How much can they do? And they're brought in a striker there. I know that's completely different, and I've gone on to Leicester, but it works a similar thing in terms of that. So when you look at stats from the last 2 years, I think it was, go back to the last 3 years in terms of when Watford were in the Premier League, he was starting pretty much every game. So he had about 20 plus games. Then the next season, the Championship, he managed to... again, get them back into the Premier League. But as soon as he went into the Premier League again, he didn't start. And it was almost like, okay. And it was almost Watford fans probably been thinking as well, they know they're going to look to get another striker in or move Troy on, or is Troy going to retire? Retirement would be something maybe you'd look at. But no, not for our Troy. And the one thing as well is that Watford have done a bit of business for Blues because they know that Blues financially it's just not there, and they've agreed to help with some of the wages as well, which is fantastic. Just to make the move happen. And realistically, it could be great business on Blues' half. I've seen another little podcast where you've said that you think Blues could finish as high as top 6. Wow. Okay.
I was still riding the high, to be honest. I knew I'd end up regretting saying that. But I don't allow it. I'm gonna continue to back myself. And, we can all laugh at me at the end of the season when we don't get top 6 and we finish like 15th. But I don't really care. I was just so happy, and I still am, to be honest. And you know what? Watch it. We'll piss our way to top 6. I'm certain of it.
Well, when you look at his stats again back for the championship, he doesn't necessarily guarantee 15 goals, so he's not necessarily that. To be fair, I definitely Che Adams did. I think this is right off the cuff of my head, so I'll probably have to stat-wise it to look it up to make sure that I know what I'm saying. But he scored a bunch of the goals. He didn't score many. It wasn't like we're talking 15, 20 goals. You know what I mean? It's going to be. He's a typical striker that won't necessarily get you bags of goals, but it'll get you the more additions to the squad as well. We've struggled for goals in terms of midfielders, wingers. We've had all. Obviously, we've had very low standard of managers before now as well, where we wouldn't even attack the goal. So let's keep ourselves. But he does. When you look back at the stats, 2019 season, he played 27 games, scored 10 goals. When you look at that stat, it doesn't look amazing, but in terms of Blues, we would take that. 2020, he played 19 games, scored 7. Even if you get like more than 7 or 8 additional onto your Craig Gardner, your Mark Roberts headers, it would do something. And I think Blues, we as fan base will settle for anything higher than relegation from the last few years. But if we are being optimistic, mid-table would be something. That kind of Stoke City position would be quite nice, where you're kind of not going up but not going down, just to settle it and then push it. Would probably be best. What do you reckon with the thoughts? What does Troy Deeney add to the squad that we probably didn't have with the likes of Vukovic, Hogan, Lecco gone out on loan as well, forgetting about that, gone to Charlton, so hopefully that's some game time for him.
I think there is one word that it should come to mind if you're thinking what Troy Deeney offers that others don't in this squad, and that is just one word, beginning with C, clinical. That's it. That's all you need to say. Because it's like he said in his interviews, he'll back himself in those situations like we saw against Barnsley as well, but he knows he won't miss. And that's what we've missed for so long at Blues now. We've all moaned that we just don't have a clinical edge, because we don't. We this season, more than any other season, we're creating so many chances. We're not having much of the ball, but when we do have the ball, it's chance after chance after chance. So, you've got to have clinical finishers if that's the way you're going to play. And it's all well and good crossing the ball into the box and hoping Juki heads it home. But that's not always going to work. Obviously, Troy Deeney is probably slightly similar to Duke in that sort of physical sense, and will sort of score those back post headers as well. But he is good with his feet. He's 2-footed, and he will finish probably 9 out of 10 chances that are given to him. So, but there is a positive to that in the sense that, yes, you'll probably see most defenders starting to mark Deeney now constantly, which will open up space for, Hogan, Duke or Anike, which will give them more free rein to try and score more goals. That's what he offers to the team. We finally have a scary offensive lineup, really, is the best way to put it. And it will sort of put fear into the eyes of defences. And we could worry them, and they'll focus too much on Troy because he is such a good striker. And it will give that sort of freedom for other players, even midfielders that want to get involved. So, there's plenty of little sort of things you could look at what he could help the team with. But I'd say a clinical edge is probably the most important part.
I think when you go back and review the footage of how many Hogan, Lecco chances, even sometimes Juki necessarily doesn't have the best of games constantly. he does bring it for us. We have to be saying, we juice our saviour until hopefully Deeney comes in and bags 20 goals. No, for joking. But when you look back at the chances, I'm trying to think of a particular game, but when Hogan's through on goal and he puts it wide, or the one against Sheffield United where he blasts it over the bar. Was it Sheffield United when they blast over the bar? It could have been 2-0. I think it was when he ricocheted over the bar.
It's like 3 yards out.
Yeah, Deeney puts them away, and that's what's going to be critical. And this is what I'm excited for going into Friday if he does play. We do have to review ourselves a little bit. We have to go back onto some of the previous games. EFL Cup wasn't Blues a strong suit. When you look at the stats, we got absolutely obliterated.
It was the B team though, so I'm not that forced. I don't care about the cup. You know, I've spoken on another podcast, and I one of the other lads said that he wanted a cup run. He thinks that it would have been good for Blues to do well in the cup, so we can see a bit more competition in the squad. And I see it from that aspect. You know, it could be good for competition. But to be honest, would I rather just leave the League Cup and focus on the league? Yes, 100%. Competition is good, but I'm just so solely focused on the league this year that I just don't even care about the cup. I'll only care about the cup if we draw Villa. That's it.
I think that's what Valorant Ismail and West Brom are doing. They obviously couldn't care who they put out against Arsenal. Obviously, the youngsters give a bit of a run for them, but they got obliterated, and who cares? They moved on to the league, and that was what the Sky reporter asked.
They showed their ambition. What their ambition is to do is to win the league. Like, it's that simple.
But yeah, it was the best of results. I think the stats wise, Fulham had like 17 shots and they put like 4 away, and then we had 2 shots and we didn't put any away. So it is what it is. It comes at you ups and downs. Next game, Barnsley. Again, this was one game where I was working, so I couldn't necessarily watch it, and obviously it was a 3 o'clock kickoff, so it was a weird one. Were you able to go to that one, or were you?
I was also at work, so
yeah. So the result, we really result in the highlights, etc. From what people have said, though, in terms of that, again, it's the clinical side, I think, that we missed. We had 14 shots, and when you look at the stats, 14 shots, 4 shots on target, surely you should be scoring more than 1 when you look at the stats like that.
We should have won that game comfortably. We could have won that game at least 5-1. Deeney plays, we win 3-1. That's simple. We absolutely battered Barnsley. They had one magical moment in the first 10 minutes. Yep, well done. One of your few, probably 2 or 3 good players in that entire squad. Scored a worldie, end of story. We dominate the rest of the game. Juki scores a very uncharacteristic goal for him, but it was a beautiful goal, don't get me wrong. And then Anike should have scored at least 3. So it's a tough one for Blues to take, really, but it's good that we're coming away from games knowing we deserve to win now. And, you know, a point is better than nothing, especially on the road.
Yeah, we didn't lose. So that was the key thing. We didn't lose, so the run still continues, apart from the obviously hiccup against Bournemouth. The run continues. And the Juki goal actually reminded me of one where he did against Bristol. It was 3-1 live on Sky, where he took it down his left, flicked it over his head to the right, and then blasted it in the net. And it was just like, what? Where's that come from? The figures about Troy Deeney as well, I think he mentioned it in his Blues interview. If Scott Hogan is through 1-on-1 and he misses, it's almost like he's going to give him a big telling off in the dressing room. The fact of that's what the presence he gives is he will show the other strikers. He'll do shooting drills with them. He'll show how to finish, etc. And that's what we need, because the chances we get are finishable chances, but we don't put them away. So it will be interesting. And the question is, live on Sky this Friday would be Deeney's homecoming to St Andrews if he plays. But to be honest, we've had an international break, and I don't think Bowyer's not going to play his star man. So he could start on the bench, because Bowyer does tend to do that. He likes to bring his new players in, put them on the bench, and then bring it. But surely, if we're thinking about it, like you got to start him. So and with news of Derby as well, we found out recently that the Upper Tilton, may I say, will be open as well. So it's great to have a bit more fan atmosphere in the ground, because obviously you've said previously on shows like this before that it sounded really quiet and dead, and that's not Blues. It's not Blues. It really isn't. So Going into Derby, you've got the kind of the little preview thing. What do you expect from Wayne Rooney's Derby? Well, I say Wayne Rooney's Derby because that's what Sky call him all the time.
That's what
The Derby
everyone
Cup.
seems to call him these days. Yeah, what I expect from Derby is hard work. And we do have two positives to take already before the game's even kicked off. Greg Forsyth is banned for a few games, and youngster fullback Festia Basele, who I actually watched one game in pre-season, a very, very exciting fullback Derby have got on their hands there. And he is also injured. So we are very lucky in the sense that they're missing two key players there. Obviously, they still have a good right back in Nathan Byrne, but he's had a really poor start to the season. And I think if you ask any Derby fan, he's just been a completely different player compared to last season. And this season, he's just not been good enough. But sort of key men wise, surprisingly, Ravel Morrison has actually really turned it up a gear at Derby. And Ravel himself has put that down to Wayne Rooney. And I think Wayne Rooney will always have that sort of an effect on an attacking player because it's Wayne Rooney. Like, you want to play for Wayne Rooney because he's a legend of the English game at the end of the day. I do still feel sorry for him in a sense because it's still his first managerial job and he really has been thrown in the deep end. It's a tough situation to deal with. But the way they've started, I think they've blown everyone away. They're nowhere near the bottom three realistically at the moment. And, I think they're just looking to fight for every point and they're picking up points, decent draws. And if they keep doing that, they'll be fine. So they're going to make it hard for Blues, but we are looking in the sense that they're missing two strikers as well in Sam Baldock and Colin Kazim-Richards. So, they'll probably look towards set pieces and stuff if they're going to try and break down Blues. But they did it last season. They battered us like 4-0, and that was mostly from set pieces. So it will be tough, and it's going to be a very physical game. And I think Derby probably will look to take a point because Blues are flying at the moment. But realistically, on paper, we should be winning this game.
Yeah, we should really. And you look at Derby's previous form, 5 games, 1 win, 3 draws, 1 loss. So 5 games is early. Let's be honest. We even said before, after 10, we'll look to evaluate it. But when you look at the Derby squad in terms of what they've got, in terms of the players they've had to get in, they've had to work from the academy, they've had to sign, it's all sorts of problems at Derby. Worse than what Blues have had over the previous years, I'd have to say. They've done really well to get at least 6 points on the board within 5 games. So they could surprise us. You just don't know. So we'd have to see. We will go to the predictions. If Deeney plays, I think we do bag. I do. I'm feeling a Deeney hat-trick. No, I'm John. I'd love one. Imagine that first game. No, I think it will be a 2-0 win. I'm going to say, I think Deeney will score. I think he will because he just has that edge. And I think the amount of chances we get, one's got to be put away. And if Deeney's on the end of it, I think he will. Well, I hope it does as well, because the one thing that does worry me is the age and the year that he hasn't really played. Is that going to bite him? But that's not him as a persona. Like, him as a player who just constantly works hard. He's a workhorse. So I think he will deliver. He's going to score, and I'm going to go over Roberts' header because he just loves a header recently, doesn't he? And even towards the end of last season. So he's in good form as well, and he has to be, because maybe his spot could be on the line with Dion Sanderson possibly coming into full fitness as well. So what do you think of the transfer window so far, actually, before we end? And also, going into the Derby game, what can you expect?
Okay, so sort of quick roundup on the transfers. I'd say we've had a fantastic window, probably one of the best transfer windows in years for Blues, if not the last decade. Solid 9 out of 10. I think the marquee signing on paper is obviously Deeney, but I feel like right now you'd have to say to Heath Chong, just down to his start to the season. But that could soon change if Deeney's banging in the goals, but we'll see. Then moving on to Derby, my score prediction, I'm going to go 2-1 Blues. I think we'll defend well, but we will concede something scrappy, and it'll be Ravel Morrison who scores. And it'll just be classic, conceding to an ex-player always seems to happen to Blues. It wouldn't surprise me if we went 1-0 down, but I think then if Deeney's either already playing or if he gets subbed on, I think Deeney will bag a brace, because why not? Just for the cameras, he likes to impress, and I think he will impress. But we'll see. Fingers crossed. But Blues, I really do say should win this. But Derby aren't going to make it an easy game, that's for sure.
No, for sure. And you think now with Deeney in the squad, Blues games, you'd think would win more. We drawn quite a bit last year, I think.
Our home record against Derby is appalling as well. I'm just throwing that out there as well. We haven't beat them for a long time.
Yeah, it just gives me flashback of the one that was also live on Sky. That was like, what was it, 4-1? 5-1? 4. Did we not? We didn't even score.
Nope. Etheridge was butterfingers that day, and he dropped like 3. So yeah. And speaking of Etheridge, wouldn't surprise me if he came back into the lineup, actually, considering Sarkic has been on international duty.
Oh yeah, there's not much of a choice really. Is Truman's still there? Is he? He's not on loan.
Yeah, he's still there, but I wouldn't want Truman playing in that game.
Well, no, I'm just trying to think of the goalkeepers that are there, because that Cheacock went out on loan. So yeah, you'd think that hopefully you give him the chance, and he has played in the under-21s, I think, has he?
Yeah.
In one of the games to get a bit of full fitness back. So, and you got to think actually, it's not we haven't had the strongest team of play. What is the team? Have we got any injuries or suspensions or anything going into the game? We looked obviously Dion Sanders obviously not full fitness. Etheridge hopefully would come in, but other than that, we seem to be quite sharp up there and I'd say near, because in terms of a direct 11.
Ivan Sanchez has had the knee operation.
Yes, of course.
But that's about it, really, to be honest.
Yeah, he hasn't played much. I don't know if it's because he's been holding that injury, and I think Bowyer secretly knew, but he hasn't really played as much as Blues fans probably would like. But also Graham. We haven't seen much from Graham as well. So maybe these are the players that are breeded for squad depth rather than starting. But that just shows I'd rather have squad depth than the same 11.
Struggled really in the cup games to I'd say ruffle any feathers or just sort of break or look like he's going to break into the first team at all, really. But he was sort of out of position a bit in those cup games. So maybe we'll see him get a first team opportunity at some point. But right now it's really tough to break into this Blues squad. Yeah,
definitely. And I think that's good. That's a good thing to have, and a good kind of morale to have as well in terms of the players that know they've got to fight for the positions, etc. Is good as well. But there we have it. We're live on Sky. We're live on Sky this Friday against Derby. Friday night in front of St Andrews. It should be hopefully, I say a cracker of a game because I'm just saying that because I'm so optimistic. But we know with Blues, it doesn't necessarily be the most tick-a-tacker style Man City type game that you will see. But who knows? We can cross our fingers and hope for a really good, strong season. So thank you all for tuning in once again. Make sure to tune into our next Blues preview in the next few weeks. The international break is finally coming to an end as well, which means that the championship will be coming into you thick and fast going into winter, going into the autumn, into the winter as well. So, but there we have it. Tom, thank you very much for joining me as usual.
No worries, mate.
And as always, make sure to like, comment on the video and stay tuned to www.bluesdaily.com for all the latest articles, which included a great one about the transfer window from Tom Owen as well. So make sure to check that out. But nevertheless, thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.